The title of my talk is the impact of generative AI on education and society. So obviously that means I will try to limit my lecture within 30 minutes. Okay, so I have to be only covering up the very synopsis of this entire gist, but I will be very happy to work with anybody who wants to have an extensive activity in this domain. Okay, so so this is myself. I'm a professor at University of Calcutta. I'm also adjunct professor in the IIIT Delhi, and I have been connected with a lot of international academia, research labs, and industries. And again, thanks to TIIKM, for that means and fantastic conference of MEDCOM, which is a convergence of media and mass communication, and I have pitched in also AI here. So let's all of us get excited about the things discussed in the conference, and I will try to motivate you to my lecture. Okay, so this is what is generative AI. So generative AI, or commonly or very colloquially known as Gen AI, right? A modern jargon we can say, is basically an artificial intelligence which is of different kinds, right? So what artificial intelligence we know, which dominated maybe the last 20 years, was basically the artificial intelligence, which able to distinguish two objects, can detect, can diagnose a particular, a disease, right, through its scan images, can predict the rainfall, or can predict the wind velocity, or the traffic scenario of a place, based on the previous data. So these are the prediction models, these are the classification models, right, which actually dominated our artificial intelligence. But for the past 3-4 years, the emergence of generative AI, right, has created a lot of difference. The role of generative AI, is that it not only tries to understand a particular sample in a given distribution, but it can generate samples in the distribution, and that's why the term called generative. So the previous AI, which was the more common AI, which is called the discriminative AI, can distinguish the two samples, or can distinguish that, hey, this sample 1 is from distribution 1 and the sample 2 is from distribution 2. But generative AI can understand the distribution and can tell and can create new samples, right? And how does it help us? One good example is that, hey, I give you a question, right, and it will generate a sample, which is the answer of the question, right? And this question will be understood by means of a learning model, which works in the back end. So this generative AI has a huge impact, right, in developing content, right? And our mass communication, our media, and our education is very much dependent on the creation of content, right? So at presently, generative AI can create content of what not. It can create content of text, images, music, audio, videos, right? And obviously, when I say that created content has two parts. One part is creativity, right? And another part is the usability, So we have to be very sure, and we have to be very ethical in the sense that we cannot use generative AI to create a content for which we will take a credit on the creativity, because we cannot take a credit on the creativity. But what we can do with the content is that we can apply the content, and we can enhance the usability of the content, and we can enhance at the ease of usability of the content, right? And that is the ease of creation and usability of the content, and those are the application areas, be it media, be it education, right, we should focus upon. So this is what is a generative AI, right? So what you see in this particular way, that I give a sort of video which consists of, in the extreme left, there are two persons. At the top there is a lady, right, and in the next row there is a gentleman, right? And the other images are obviously the very well-known images, okay, of our movie stars, okay, right, of Leonardo da Vinci's, okay, Mona Lisa, okay. Okay, but what I see is that what we can see from this particular, okay, small experiment is that, okay, that means the videos of the famous videos, okay, the images of the famous persons, right, are now generated as a sort of video. New frames have been created of those famous persons based on the emotions, right, of the lady and the gentleman. So which means that those frames of the famous persons like Brad Pitt or, okay, that means, or this Mona Lisa, right, or the others, okay, were not existing. But my generative AI, right, have been able to create those images, right, which will carry out the emotions and the movements which have been generated, okay, by the very two common persons. So this you can tell that, hey, this can create a lot of trouble, right? So which means that, okay, the persons who haven't done the thing, right, I can generate images or I can generate videos, okay, telling that the person has done this thing. Okay, obviously this is a crime, right? If you breach anyone's privacy, right, if you try to defame anything, right, it's obviously okay, something content creation which is unethical. Okay, but try to imagine that a particular patient has come to the doctor, right, and the doctor wants to tell the patient that, hey, if you don't go for the surgery, right, in the next 1 month, right, this is the way your tumor will obstruct the organs, right, or some flow process in the body, right, and then you can see that what can happen. So the doctor can use a generative AI model, okay, to show the growth of the cancer. Similarly, in the case of transportation model, right, suppose I want to generate a new street or a new road, right, in my city, right, or, okay, that means a new bus route in my city, right, and can I able to see before I do the bus route, can I able to see that, okay, how much traffic will be diverted, okay, from the central part of the city, okay, to the new route, okay, so that I can make the central part of the city a little bit less in the traffic, okay, so that people from all the different parts of the city can commute in a very easy way. Or say, look into the architect, right? An architect discusses with the customer, and the customer tells that, hey, this is the requirement, and this is the requirement of my room or my office. Can you show me how does it look? Right? It's very difficult for the architect to do it and on the particular same time, because he has to now go with the drawing, designing, and all these things. Okay, but generative AI, okay, with the keys which the customer gives, and with the proper technical input of an architect who knows generative AI and who can use a generative AI tool, right, can generate a sort of visualization of this, right? But obviously there will be a boundary between the visualization what generative AI generates, right? It's not, we cannot take the creativity, we cannot take the credit for this creativity, okay, because human is not adding any value in terms of creativity to the generative AI. What we can do, we can actually assemble the things which are there in a proper way, okay, so that it fits to my requirement, right, and the visualization is a workable visualization on which we can actually do some activity. Okay, that's the way a generative AI works. And obviously it's not only, right, it's not only content in terms of image and video, you can also generate text content, right, you can generate text to image, right, text to audio, all these things. Okay, so I discussed this. I will not go into much on this. There are different types of technologies which are involved in the domain of discriminative AI vis-a-vis a generative AI, right? Generative AI uses some sort of machine learning models called autoencoders, okay, generative adversarial networks, variational autoencoders, right? Which are technical stuff, right? Which are very common for a computer science researcher in this domain. But I think to abstract it, that these models, because we know that artificial intelligence, are defined, right, are being driven by the models which are built on the data, right? And these models can work on the current data and can generate generate some sort of predictions, right? In case of generative AI, can generate some samples. So but the models which are used in generative AI are pretty different from the very classical standard models of prediction and classification. So if you look into the market of generative AI, it's pretty growing. It's pretty growing, and you will see that from the very general generative AI, right? People are going to domain-specific generative AI. Because the plus point of domain-specific generative AI is that if you can abstract a particular domain, then we can service that domain well. Suppose the banking sector. We were just discussing with one of my students from University College London, right? And she was supposed to give a presentation to HSBC. Right? So the focus was that how the banking sector can use generative AI. So in the banking sector, the banking personnel has to go with a lot of compliances, right? When I apply for a loan and a particular loan is either sanctioned or not sanctioned, right? There is a several list of the checks and routines are being done, and the loans for an individual and loans for a business are again varying, right? So depending on the loan category, the compliances or the rules and checks are different. So right. So the field level person in the bank, right? He or she will be very feel good, right? If I can have a sort of chatbot, which will constantly help, the particular person on the different cases he or she is handling, right? So this is a very domain-specific Gen AI which focuses on the finance sector. Similarly, I can generate domain-specific Gen AI for agriculture. I can do for environment. I can do for energy, right? I can do for education. So different aspects of societies are being touched, right? If you are going with domain-specific generative models, right? And this is really growing, really growing. If you see the growth from 2024 where we are, and the projected growth in 2030, right? It is really getting very high, escalating in a very good space. There are a lot of tools and a lot of companies have come up, right? Some are doing very good, some are doing very average, and some might be not doing good because ultimately that whenever a new technology comes, right, there's a lot of rush, right? But the companies and organizations which works on a very what I can say on a very stable platform and actually take our right, and the motivation is to work with the technology and to keep a pace with the advancement of the technology. Those companies survive, and that's also the case. So the most common generative AI model is, we know, ChatGPT, right? Presently ChatGPT 4, but apart from that, there is a Google model which is called Gemini. There is a Meta model called Lambda, right? And many are there. So I'm not getting into this. You can use the reference of the slide and to know all the different aspects of this. So if you look at the applications of Gen AI, as I said, that art and design, when we tell, it shouldn't be not on the creative purpose. It should be on the usability purpose. Suppose I want to generate a crime scene. That means how we are trying to do this. It's called the visual query, right? I'm not getting details of it, but suppose we want to generate a crime scene from a description of the people who were there, right? So something happened, some burglary happened, some theft happened, or some sort of some sort of hit and go happened. So people describes the particular scene who were there, right? And the video is generated, right? How beautiful it is, okay? So those things can be done using generative AI, and your very very important cases can be solved, okay? The visualization. So we will use art, and so we'll use the generative AI, okay, in the domain of art and design, not for the sake of creativity or claiming the creativity, but to generate visualizations and what will happen if this design is being done, right? And obviously music composition, again, it is not to carve the roles of the musicians, but if some old music has happened, right? There is some old music where some part of the music is not there, right? Can we reconstruct it, right? Obviously AI was there, but generative AI has a more strength, okay? Suppose we want to query a music, right? It is now there. Suppose we want to find a particular note in the music, right? Can we find it using this particular type of things, okay? Right? And content creation, for media, for education, there are a lot of things, okay? Right? Obviously, when we say content creation using generative AI, right, it means a particular content which is already created, but it needs to be disseminated into different ways and different forms, okay, to the different sectors of users, right? So there, generative AI can work as a very well thing, right? Suppose I make a story about about the various things in Kolkata, my city, Kolkata, India, right? And suppose there will be persons who will be coming from different parts of the world, right? And wants to know a very specific thing. Someone is artist, okay? Someone is a businessman, someone is an engineer, someone is a finance expert, right? You know what I can do? I cannot put individual experts to satisfy each of them, right? And making physical experts is very difficult. But what I know, I can have all the informations of the city Kolkata for the various groups, okay, right? And I can put it, and I can use a generative AI, right, which will satisfy the requirements of each of these sects of people who are coming to my city based on the queries where they are generating. Based on the queries, the crux of generative AI is that generative AI, okay, launch a very large repository, and then when a query is fired, a generative AI model understands the query and tries to find the best sample, right, out of this corpus which fits the query, and creates that sample answer. Obviously, there is a lot of process which goes on to refine this generative AI, and at one point of time it becomes good. Okay, so it's not that in a very fast go, a generative AI model will give very good. So all the things what I discussed, you can now go into multiple sectors as has been shown in this particular diagram. Okay, so I will just skip this. These are the technology part of this. That means we have GANs, we have variational autoencoders, and we have transformers, which are the key components in terms of the processing of the generative AI backend. Now I come to the ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is basically a generative AI, but which works on a language model. Okay, language means it is right. It works on a content. Okay, content which is a written content or that means a content which is available in a repository, right? And it is defined in terms of language constructs. Okay, so the content. So whatever content you put as a corpus to the generative AI model, or the way ChatGPT has been developed, right? You can okay, the large language model understands the content, right, in terms of the description given in a specific language, right? And it can also understand the user specific query so that it can generate okay, the proper sample or create the proper sample from the knowledge it has generated through learning a large corpus and can satisfy the user. Okay, so it works like just like a human expert, right? It understands your language of the query and can generate an answer from the content which is already supplied to it. Okay, right? And we can generate a lot of these chatbots, okay, a lot of these co-pilots, okay, for our real-time activities, right? And there is and obviously there is something called prompt engineering. So there is obviously a big debate that when we try to generate an answer from a particular query, all this generative AI can generate an answer, okay? And then suppose I have asked my students to create an answer, for a particular question. The students can go to the Gen AI and can write a Gen AI which works on that particular content or which is known that this content is known to that particular generative AI corpus. Okay, then the student can just generate the answer and can give it to me without knowing anything, without understanding the question, right? And without understanding the answer. Okay, this can happen, right? The student can give to me and I will be that, if I am ignorant about ChatGPT, right, I will tell that, hey, you've done a very good job, which the student hasn't, okay? But if I am a teacher who knows that, okay, ChatGPT can be used and the student can use that, then what I need to do? I need to find a because why I'm telling this, because it is, okay, the answer that you generate from a ChatGPT depends on how precise query you have generated. And if you have generated a precise query, if you can generate a precise query on a specific topic, it means that you have considerable knowledge about that topic. Okay, so this is the other way of trying to understand that. That means if the students uses generative AI, right, being a teacher, okay, we have to little bit work and try to find out the queries whose answers, if we have to give generative, if we have to pass from generative AI, student has to really work on the prompt. And when the student has to really work on the prompt, he or she has to be knowledgeable in the concepts of that particular topic. Okay, so when I say that prompt, if you give a very a novice prompt, okay, the answers will not satisfactory. Okay, if you are, that means if an expert gives a prompt, which means that the expert knows to use ChatGPT, number one, and the expert has also a particular the hold, right, or the knowledge in the domain, then that expert can give a good prompt, and the good prompt will generate a good answer. Okay. So obviously the full form of the GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. As I said, that training is one of the component of the machine learning models or AI models. So training will be there. It gets trained with a large amount of corpus data, right? And transformer is a process by which we actually accept a particular input, right, and convert the input, okay, to a particular answer, okay, which the user wants out of this particular question. Okay, so it does with a process called encoder and decoder, which I'm not getting into this due to the technological, okay, because it will be a deep technology discussion. Okay, right. And so what this language model understands, or ChatGPT understands, is understands the grammar structure and the meaning conveyed. How it understands? Because it has been trained to understand this grammar. Right, this has been trained on large corpus of English language. If I'm telling that ChatGPT on English, though now ChatGPT is working on multiple languages also, native languages also, but just to make the things easy, okay, so the ChatGPT has learned a large amount of English corpus. And to learning what it has learned that what is the grammar structure of the language, right? Because what it means that because there will be some process called human in the loop. So there is a lot of experts were being engaged or are being engaged to find out the errors what ChatGPT is generating. So the errors can be two ways. One is that either the ChatGPT doesn't understand the grammar, or the ChatGPT doesn't understand the meaning, what needs to be conveyed. If there is any error, the expert will actually guide this ChatGPT and will fine tune, and ultimately the ChatGPT will be curated in a form that for a given language, it understands both the grammar, the syntax, as well as the semantics, okay? Right, and it learns on a very, right, it doesn't only learn about the content discretely, right? It learns about the connectivity in the content, right? It knows that if I tell there's a computer, right, it can connect a computer with a digital display and with a keyboard, right, and with a communication interface, or that means or a LAN or a Wi-Fi. So it actually generates a lot of association between the content, and these associations are very important to churn out correct answers out of this content, okay, when the query is being fired to this engine, okay? Right, I'm not getting into details of this, okay? So I'm just pushing a little bit. So these are the different examples of prompt engineering which you can do very well, right? You can, right, it can be a zero shot, means you just give a question and wants an answer, right? It's a chain of thoughts, right? You can give some sort of hint that okay, if you say this, okay, this will be the probable view. If you say this will be the probable view, and now try to comment on this. So this will be a sort of chain of thoughts, okay, right? And few shots means you can give certain examples that, hey, create your narration like, okay, this things should be there in the narration. Okay, these things you should use these keywords in your answer. Okay, so these are some sort of few shots. Few shots means you are giving quite a good amount of hint to do that. Okay, right, and obviously it can go to there are different libraries out there. Okay, for different type of generative AI techniques. Okay, but obviously text generation, image generation, video, video, music, okay, and arts, okay, though it is not for creative sense. Again, I'm telling, it should be only for visualization, right? You can do it, okay? And now generative AI and higher education, okay? Now we have seen that in the higher education, due to the emergence of COVID, where the student was not closely associated with the teacher, okay, the student requires a lot of teaching aids, right, in the digital platform, because physical interaction was not there. Okay, there were digital interactions, right, and there were digital means to support this. Okay, so there were two types of things. One was the content and one was the assessment. Okay, and generative AI can actually work on the both. Okay, so the main motivation of these generative AI tools is to have a very easy interface, because the students need not to know AI. Students or the teachers need not to know AI in depth. Okay, they only need to know that, hey, this is an AI tool, right, and these are the standard practices, SOP, to use the tool, right? And this helps lot to not only to generate content. Okay, so what a teacher can do, right? A teacher can generate his own generative AI tool for his or her subject, for a group of students, by passing all the contents, what he feels these are good contents for the subject, right, and getting a generative AI tool trained on that content. And then he or she tests the generative AI with a question, because he or she is an expert in the subject. He or she actually trains the generative AI by giving sample questions and trying to tell the generative AI that, okay, in this question, these answers you have got correct, but in these answers you need to add more these things. So in this way, the particular subject expert curates a generative AI model specific to his subjects, and after a lot of this iteration, now the subject expert can push the generative AI model to the students and can tell the students that, hey, you can now learn with, because this is so the teacher has obviously a role. The teacher has an ownership on the generative AI model, and the teacher and the students can actually use the generative AI model as such the teacher is answering, because this entire model, the content of this model has been provided by the teacher in the training time. Okay, teacher has corrected the generative AI where it was going wrong, right? And then when that student gets this, the student is very happy, because it seems that and the way the answering has been done, okay, due to the iteration done by that particular teacher, okay, the answers will be very similar what that particular physical teacher would have done, right, in the class, and the students feels very happy. So this is how generative AI can be used. But remember, generative AI is just not a one-go process in higher education. It requires a lot of curation, okay, by the academic experts to make a generative AI model fit for our specific subject. And it is not true that if you try to fit a generative AI for a particular specific subject, that generative AI model will just go for all the subjects. No. So the role of subject experts in the era of generative AI will still be there, because they will be the person who will handle the generative AI tool, right, and will take it to a level of fluency or a level of accuracy. Once this is done, then what the advantage is that teacher now can address a large number of students, which is not possible in one physical session or online session. And at any point of time, the students can get help to the generative AI model curated by the particular specific expert. Okay, right? And so there are a lot of things you can do, okay, right? And you can mix and match the different type of components using generative AI, and that makes the entire stuff so exciting, okay? Last I will come to this. It's also assessments are also there, because as generative AI works on a query and an answer, so similarly, if we can train the generative AI properly, it can also try to validate the answers which are being generated by a student, right? And it can do in an automated way. But having said that, right, you have to be very careful that when a tool-based assessment you are doing, you need to have all the compliances of the tool, and you have to have a lot of checks on the tool, okay, to give a certification that this tool is ready for assessment, okay, because assessment is a very delicate thing, okay. So you have to be very sure of the automated assessment tool. But automated assessment tools, right, many of the cases will help the teachers to progress more on correcting the students where they didn't work well, rather than giving time to find that what they didn't do. Okay, so the physical assessment is basically to find out what they didn't do, but actually what is required is that, hey, the student is not doing well in this particular thing, so we have to suggest what needs to be done. So now the teacher can take a very quick assessment, a very quick data from the assessment very quickly, and the teacher can plan that how the students can be benefited right on this learning process. Okay, so I will so these are so as I said that if I try to use the essay questions or long answer questions, here there is a risk that ChatGPT can be used by the students, right? But then also we have to be very careful that we have to give some sort of scenarios or some sort of questions where the students, if use the ChatGPT, also uses for very mundane part of the solution, not the real exciting part of the solution, right? We have to prepare the questions in that particular way, okay? It should be interdisciplinary, right? It should be some sort of very deep in understanding, okay, where the student may use the ChatGPT, but only in bits and pieces, right? Or an OpenAI, bits and pieces, okay? So I'm just skipping on this due to the time. So you have to be good in prompt. And when you are good in prompt, right, you have and handling, you know both the things, right? You know both the things of, that means how to use ChatGPT, and also you know that, okay, the content of the query and the content in the particular subject very well, so that you can give good prompts. Okay. So ChatGPT generates instant feedback. Okay. And it can create a lot of different types of participations. It can create a lot of different types of scenarios using ChatGPT for a particular discussion point, right? And you can engage students in a much diverse way, right? If you are using this type of OpenAI as a thinking tool, right? Because OpenAI can generate a lot of directions from a particular content, and on each directions you can give a student a particular task. Okay, right? But obviously there are ethical implications. Ethical implications means you shouldn't, okay, a particular, okay, creator, if he or she is using ChatGPT for a particular, okay, mundane work, he or she should be candid to tell that, hey, this is not my creativity, this is done by an OpenAI tool like ChatGPT, right? You shouldn't also use the ChatGPT, okay, for a particular, generating a particular answer for which you are trying to take a creative or a scientific credit. You cannot do that. Okay, so these are the ethical implications, and I think very soon the standards, okay, for this generative AI, large language models and domain-specific language models will come up, which will give the compliance and standards we have to make. Okay, right? I will. Okay, it is obviously you need to look into this. Okay, resilience in assessments in the terms of the present era of generative AI, right? And we have to look into all the sectors of this assessment in terms of resilience. Okay. That means I will just skip this. It's not only the text answers you can generate, you can also generate the image answers. Okay. All right. And obviously you will only use this not for creativity purpose, but use this only for visualization and for understanding the things. Okay. I will just skip this. And the next step of generative AI is, here we are now doing individually, okay, text LLM for text, right? Others but we will come to an era where we can actually generate multimodal content. Means we can generate a video with an audio, or maybe in the near future we can generate a full movie, right, using generative AI, or a full content, okay, having image, video, text, audio, okay, as a content, and those, right, and those will be very attractive, right, but again we have to find a good use of this, and we have to keep the ethical practice under consideration in doing all these things. Okay, so I think as I said, that there are some challenges of Gen AI, right? There's a biasness. So when you try to train with a particular corpus, where the corpus can be biased in certain views, right? We have to see that whether that biasness is not there, right? Ethics and legal compliances are there, what you can generate and what level you can generate, that is bounded by ethical and legal compliance. Obviously, you have to engage in tools. Sometimes the training requires a lot of infrastructures of your computing infrastructure, which is costly, right? You require a cloud engine to do that. So those costs are there, right? And transparency interpretability is also a part that, okay, that means I get an answer from the chat, from the OpenAI. Okay, but can I query back OpenAI that, hey, how you evolved this answer? What are the steps you followed? Whether you have followed the proper steps. Okay, suppose a medical practice, right? A medical practice follows the proper steps. Okay, that means any particular engineering practice follows the proper steps. Okay, so that means or a medical practice, engineering practice, any professional practice follows a particular step. So you have to be very sure that it has followed those steps and generated these particular things. Reliability and safety, that it shouldn't come up with some sort of some sort of answers, okay, which are actually very negative for the society, okay, which an individual, I'm not getting into this, but individual can be in a very bad, individual or organization, right, can be in a very bad state, right? It shouldn't generate those things, okay, right? And obviously, when we are working with a corpus data, we need to take that if we are working with a private data, we have to keep the confidentiality of the organizations when we are using their data to train our models, especially, and when we are going for the query type of response, whether these responses can be open to the public or not. All these data privacy issues and security issues needs to be taken care, and the model should be secured because the model cannot be attacked. If the model is punctured, then the model can give some results which you will consider it as obviously absorbable, but those are punctured model, and that can drive into a lot of difficult scenarios, okay? So it is good. It is going ahead. A lot of things are in the pipeline, okay, right? And I hope that I am with time, and right, thank you all.